Hi, this is Beth Clarizia with the Natural Resources Conservation Service. Today, I'm in Ripley County on the Carroll Hinneke Wetlands site. This is a nearly 42-acre property that has been restored through the Wetland Reserve Easement Program. There are over 800 projects like this across Indiana that have been restored through the technical and financial efforts of the Natural Resources Conservation Service. Let's take a look at this beautiful property. This site was restored by excavating shallow areas and creating low levees with excavated soil. Several acres of standing water provide important water habitat, while the saturated soils surrounding the water and upland plant species provide a variety of habitats and food for many species.
This property was essentially a grain farm. We grew corn and soybeans extensively, some hay, but mostly corn and soybeans. It was terribly eroded, and I discussed that with my parents, and essentially that's how we developed this program. We've developed it first with warm season grasses and forbs and legumes, and we maintain that. But initially also we developed this wetland here on our own before we were enrolled, and since that time we've developed 3 other marshes. I'm a waterfowl hunter, obviously, and I'm a fisherman. We have fish in this marsh, but I do a lot of waterfowling on all 4 of these bodies of water, and I'm a deer hunter. We have upland game, rabbits, a few turkeys wander by occasionally, mainly waterfowl. I recall as a child having quail on this property, and I hadn't heard quail for decades. We have them here now. We get sandhill cranes in here every winter during the migration period. This has been personally one of the most satisfying things I've done in my life. I'm a retired Indiana conservation officer, spent 30 years with DNR, so that was kind of ingrained, soil preservation and conservation of wildlife, and it rubbed off after 30 years, and it's been very satisfying to do this. There's also something to be said for preserving something which indeed was perhaps marginal to begin with, and at this stage of my life it's important for me to, I hate to use the term legacy, but this is my legacy to preserve. Talk to other people who are already in the program, and I think you'll find by and large that the bulk of those people are exceedingly happy they did this, and if they could, they would enroll more property.
Tim Schwipps is the District Conservationist here in Ripley County, Indiana. Tim, as the District Conservationist, what is your role?
Well, we work with landowners on private land to develop a conservation plan for them to address resource concerns such as soil, water, and animal. And then we take that conservation plan and we can use it to apply to programs to provide financial assistance for them to help get those concerns addressed.
What are the typical steps for a landowner for a WRE application process?
Well, we would do a site visit with the landowner to go out and look at the site, discuss the program, see what their goals are, and then after we would go over all that with them and make sure they're comfortable with all the guidelines of the program, then a ranking team would come out and we'd look at the site, and the site gets evaluated, and then it'll get a score. Then with an adequate score, then we would solicit an offer to purchase the easement. The landowner would still maintain ownership, and then we would pay 100% of the legal cost for the survey and the title work, and then the restoration work as well. And then there's also a 30-year easement option that has different criteria.
Why would a landowner typically apply for the WRE program?
Well, we would work with the landowners. There may be an area that they're providing or putting crops out on that they're not getting a return back on their investment. It's one that maybe it would flood, or they're historically taking a loss on an area. And we would work with them to enroll that area where they would be able to get the permanent easement placed on that. Like I said, they'd still be able to maintain ownership and then be able to use that area for wildlife A lot of them enjoy, bird watching, hunting, other recreational opportunities with that.
NRCS has a local district conservationist like Tim in your county. The Wetland Reserve Easement Program is available now. Thank you to Carol Henneke for letting us tour his site today, and please contact your local NRCS office if you're interested in this program.